Hello again, beautiful souls. I'm here today to share with you a bit about what it's like to have a Sasquatch as a friend. And then I will share a message that came through recently from Kuwatane, my Sasquatch friend. And if you haven't watched the video on how I got connected to be communicating with Sasquatch, I'll link that below. And I'm just thinking of it now to just invite you to check out my book, Conversations with a Tree. So I am a nature communicator, and I was sitting at the base of a tree one day and never expected to be talking to a tree, and knew beyond any doubt that this tree was asking me to be its scribe. And now I find myself with the great joy of also being a scribe for a Sasquatch being. And I just wanted to share a bit about what that is like, because it's such a blessing. They are such loving beings. At least that's my experience that I'm having with Kuwatane. I call him KB, a very tall elder Sasquatch that I just started connecting with 3 months ago, and it has grown and evolved very quickly. And earlier in March, I read a question that had me thinking about my sense of belonging in the world. And the question actually made me feel kind of sad, because I realized that's been my biggest issue, you could say. Certainly, especially when I was younger, but well into my adulthood. I feel like really I'm just now healing around this sense of belonging, because I've always felt so different. Never really felt like I belonged. My family, even though I know they love me, I just am not the same as they are. And all of that created this disconnecting myself from the world. So as a teenager, I was very, I isolated myself for sure. So when this question came up, and I realized that that was it, I never really felt like I belonged. It was bringing up some sadness for me, which is a good thing. And so I called on KB, my Sasquatch friend, Kuwatane, who I call KB, to just be present with me and just to feel his embrace, sort of thing. And he talked about how sad it is that humans will harm one another. And of course we know that humans will harm Sasquatch if you watch any videos. I just watched one today where a man was in the forest hunting, and he wasn't an aggressive person, like the story was told quite beautifully. But when you see a Sasquatch and you don't know what it is, and it's this big, hairy being in the forest, it's understandable that people are afraid. And this man actually shot this Sasquatch in the stomach, and then felt very remorseful when he saw this Sasquatch retreat, and he was watching the Sasquatch through his scope because it was far away at this point. And then he saw another little Sasquatch come out, and it was a child, and then a female Sasquatch come out and pick up the child and place her hands on the male. And he realized, that he had just seriously injured a father in a family, and he was deeply remorseful. But this just shows that it is true that humans do harm Sasquatch, and people are hunting them. And one of the things that KB said to me is that Sasquatch would never harm one another. They're a peaceful people, and they would never do that. And he started just giving me so much love, like I was just feeling this beautiful embrace from KB. And it actually moved me to tears as I was releasing the sadness of this recognition that I've lived most of my life feeling isolated and not like I belong. And I was grateful for that, because I believe that when we feel something deeply, when it comes into our awareness and then we feel it deeply and just have our feelings, then we can let it go and we're moving forward. And I'm starting to see that in myself now. It's actually creating where I'm feeling more connected to people, because of course, whatever we experience, it's within us. Even if we feel isolated and we feel like the outside is the reason, or people on the outside, like my family, but it's within me. I felt isolated, so they had to isolate me in a sense. So when we come to this awareness and we release it, then it's dissolved and we can live life differently, and life will just show up differently. But it was beautiful because KB really helped me to get to that place where I could just feel it fully and to let the tears go and just let it dissolve away. And then he said to me that one day I will feel his embrace in person. And I had said to him early on, mind you, this is still early on, it's only 3 months since I first realized that I wanted to connect with the Sasquatch, and KB came into my life. And I had said to him, I think my physical body would be afraid to see you in person right now. So I'd like to get used to you before that happens. And I had sent that to a friend who lives on the other coast, a friend in Nova Scotia where I'm from. And she's highly intuitive. And when I told her that story briefly, and she just immediately had a vision of a past life where I had been picked up by a child Sasquatch, and this child was not supposed to interact with humans, but it did, and it picked me up and squeezed me so hard that I died. But it was totally innocent, that this child, it was just like squeezing your teddy bear. It didn't realize that I could actually be suffocated by doing that. And so KB made the joke that this time he wouldn't squeeze me too hard. So they do have a great sense of humor. And so just sharing that when we connect with Sasquatch, that's the kind of experience that we can have with them. And that's part of the message that came through. This one came through just recently, a few days ago. And I just thought I would share it with you today. And KB said to me, we were just talking about different things, and he said to me that Sasquatch people must live like prey because of what I just said, because humanity actually goes out hunting them, and we become afraid when we see them, and so we react out of fear, and if we've got a gun in our hand, we use it. And he said, every time they go out, they have to tune into their environment, so they can't live a life of peace on the land the way they would like to. And I'm sure that's why people say that they come out mostly at night and that their night vision is so good. I wouldn't doubt that that developed because they have to be so careful in the daytime that people might see them and cause them harm. And he said that their population has been diminished because of this. And so I asked him what he would like to receive or achieve in our relationship together and this communication that we're having together. And he said that he wants people to know who they are, who the Sasquatch people are, that they care. And it's also about us understanding them better. He said it's not very nice being thought of as creatures of the forest, being feared when they are pure love. And they are uncorrupted as humans are. So we all know that us humans have quite a strong shadow side, and honestly, the most of us live from a place of fear. And when we live in fear, it's like we can't be fully loving and in the heart at the same time as living in fear. So that is our corruption, in a sense, you could say. He said they want to be understood so that when they appear to help us, they won't be harmed. And more and more, it seems that the Sasquatch are coming and showing themselves to people. They want to help us right now at this time of evolution for humanity. And so what he's saying here is that they want to be able to come out and help us, but they also want to be safe. So when they come out, if I can deliver this message that they are kind and loving people, they are also highly intuitive, so they know your intent. And this story that I shared at the beginning, where this fellow shot the Sasquatch and then realized he had killed a dad. Well, in the beginning of this story, it talked about him going hunting with his father all his life, and his father was very kind. He would always leave apples in the forest. He would always connect with the spirit of the animal that he was going to take. He would kill just one deer at a time, very respectful of the land. And this fellow actually said that after this incident with the Sasquatch, he really felt that his dad probably knew the Sasquatch people were there and just never mentioned it to his son. And that makes sense to me to think that this Sasquatch showed itself to him and didn't feel like it needed to protect itself because it was used to this person coming to that forest, and up until that point they had never harmed any Sasquatch. So they want to be able to come to us without creating fear and terror among the people. So the more we can get this message out there that they're loving, but also if you have ill intent, they're probably not going to show themselves to you to start with. And I feel that they will protect themselves if they need to, or try to distract people to make sure that they're taking care of themselves and not going to be harmed. So it's important for us, if we really would like to be able to connect with the Sasquatch, to approach them with a loving heart and be sure that you're in a place where you can offer that love before you want to make that connection. Then he said, many people know that off-terrestrial beings visit our planet and await disclosure. There are a lot of people who are waiting for disclosure to happen around ETs. And he said, but they are similar. We are undisclosed, even though there are many officials who know about them, and they live here on this planet with us. So here we are living with these beings that are on this planet with us, and yet at the same time, they are highly evolved. They can travel through dimensions. They can appear and disappear, and they carry pure love. They have so much to offer us. And so it's time for us really to connect with, you could say, the almost like ETs that live on our planet with us. And that's what they want. They want to be able to help us and support us. If earth changes are coming, they know how to live off the land. That's how they live. They could be a great support to humanity if we begin to go through challenging times. But it won't be safe for them to come out and help us if we're going to try to just kill them all. Then he said, can you imagine how this feels? To not only be unwelcome in our own home, but to cause terror for the population. So imagine living where you live, walking out the door, and everybody you see on the street is so afraid of you that they turn and run the other way. And maybe you have a partner and 2 children the same as you, and those are the only people that really understand you and are not terrified of you. He wants us to really feel what it's like to be a Sasquatch living on this earth when most people are terrified of them, and all these stories are out there about them that are so untrue. What it feels like to them, and still here they are wanting to help us and wanting to support us because they know who has an open, loving heart and who would have compassion for them. He ended by saying, it's very sad for us. We want to be living among you in peace. So my greatest desire is that these messages, as I share them more and more, will help people understand that we can do that. And I did ask him once about people actually being harmed by Sasquatch. There are stories out there that say that. And he said some of them are just made up and it's not true. And some of them are actually beings that are disguising themselves as Sasquatch that are not truly Sasquatch people. So that was the response that I got from Kuwa'ane around that. So I hope you enjoyed this message. Stay posted for more. I plan to share Kuwa'ane's teachings quite regularly so that we really can begin to make this connection with these beautiful forest beings who live here with us, who are among us, especially, of course, those who do not live in cities. So get yourself into the country and back to nature, and do that just because Conversations with a Tree reveals so much about how healing that is for us. And I don't know if you know, in Japan, and if you've heard of forest bathing, but there they've actually, doctors write prescriptions for forest bathing to send people into the forest to just soak up the nature, to be fully present in nature, because they've shown that it's such a powerful stress reducer, powerful beyond medications that are there. They've actually done scientific studies to prove this. So I leave you in the love of nature and with great blessings. Thank you.